it's worth your while. So give me your all. I'll take it to Mars. Oh, I'll stick like glue inside your mind. Just watch me break it, and I swear you're falling into me. Touch me, I swear you would do anything that I want. So keep us awake till the dawn. Baby, feel free. I wanna make you sweat on me. I wanna make you sweat on me.
Hi everyone, welcome to our third year of Grow with Inbound. Our first 2 years were live events in central London, but of course this year means that we are fully virtual due to the pandemic. But what is really exciting is this year, as we're Huble Digital, we're also fully international. So we've started the day with our friends in Singapore, and if anyone was on those sessions this morning, I hope that you really enjoyed them. At the moment, we're in the UK with us in London, and I know that the team has also been with HubSpot in Dublin. And we're going to finish the day in London by waking up HubSpot HQ on the East Coast in Boston. And then the final North American session will come from our friends in the Huble office in Chicago. So today we've got about 15 different sessions running with 22 amazing hosts and presenters who'll be joining us from 4 continents and in numerous different time zones. Today, you're joining more than 600 marketers, salespeople, and customer service experts, as well as some of our friends from other HubSpot partners that we work with from around the world. We're really happy that you've been able to join us today. I have seen some familiar faces and, well, some familiar names in the attendee list. So thank you very much for taking your time out today, and we really hope that you enjoy it. So after all of that, I'd really like to introduce you to our guest speaker. I'm a very proud Monzo customer and investor, if you can count £10 as an investment. So I'm really excited to introduce Jack Cully, who is the product marketing manager at Monzo. Hi, Jack, and welcome.
Hey, how you doing? Good to see you. Yes.
Yeah, thanks so much for taking the time out to chat to us today. I know that you have had many positions at Monzo and you've been there for quite a while. And I think earlier you said you had about over 5 items of clothing that are Monzo branded. So maybe 1 per position. If you could tell us just a little bit more about yourself and how long you've been at Monzo?
Yeah, sure. So I've been at Monzo for just about 3 years. So I joined when we were a lot smaller. We were serving a lot less customers, and in fact, we had only just got a banking license at that stage. So we were still very much kind of in the very early stages. And I started on one of our first customer operations teams, actually. Speaking to some customers, working on operational projects. And then I started working with a small group of other people on our first business banking project. This was a tiny team at the time, and we just thought, well, we've got this banking product. What can we do to kind of build another one for businesses based upon what we know already? From there, I was doing some kind of community engagement work, and then we started working on kind of developing the product for businesses. Working on messaging, positioning, and then ultimately designing the go-to-market launch for our business banking product. And then since then, I have been a product marketing manager on pretty much all of our products, including the core app, overdrafts, loans, our credit score product, and lots of other things. And now I'm working on a personal account. So yeah, I guess that's what we're doing now.
Oh, amazing. Okay, so you've definitely managed to keep it interesting over the years. Which position out of all of those has been your favorite so far, if you have a favorite?
I think the work I'm doing right now is really exciting. So as a product marketing manager, you kind of really do get the best of both worlds, because you get to interact with customers, and you get to kind of really get to the nitty gritty of understanding their core needs, whilst also kind of working on the business side of things. So yeah, it's great to kind of work with I guess, yeah, as I say, both customers and people in the business building products that we hope everyone loves.
Oh, amazing. Thank you. So Monzo is obviously a great example of digital transformation in the banking industry, alongside some really great customer service experiences. So I was hoping we could chat through some of those today. Firstly, you guys did word of mouth marketing really, really well with your golden tickets. Can you tell us a bit more about this and how did that come about?
Yeah, sure. Apologies, by the way, I think my sound might be a bit bad. We tried a few things. I'm going to try and plow through. So, effectively, I guess to your point, pretty much all of our growth up until now has been kind of word of mouth. So, in the very early days, golden tickets actually were key to this. We had a wait list at the very, very beginning because we had to, because we were having so much kind of, I guess, demand for the products that we had to kind of put some limits in place.
Oh,
so we didn't kind of crash and burn at that time. And so we kind of solved that kind of waitlist problem with golden tickets. Effectively, if you were to kind of, I guess, hold people in place, you would be able to invite your friend via a golden ticket. It turned out that actually this was like a really good, like viral mechanism, and we didn't even really intend for it to be. So we kind of started building on that a little bit, and then I think fast forwarding that to right now. We've tried a couple of things with golden tickets, like paid referrals and things like that. But they are actually, I guess, driving less inbound now. It's more kind of about word of mouth, kind of more organically. And there's a bunch of other things as well that are kind of contributing to that, but we're still seeing super strong growth, which is really exciting.
That's awesome. Yeah, I joined Monzo through a golden ticket. I remember it was amazing. I got sent one by a friend. I could skip the queue of everyone who was waiting for a bank account and I can join immediately. So it definitely works. The other thing that is amazing is your easy sign up. And that's also how you've really changed the industry. And it's why I signed up to Monzo. I just moved to London. I needed a bank account. And through your app, I could create an account without any proof of address, which was incredible. Can you tell us a bit more about this?
Yeah, so we know in the kind of like software business, I guess, that sign up is a very important part of having a smooth sign up is a very important part of getting people to use and eventually engage with your product. And the curious thing about current accounts in particular is that before we did sign up in our app, there was an assumption in the banking industry that you had to kind of you had to stand in front of someone and visibly see them in order to physically see them in order to verify their identity and then open up a bank account for them. And we kind of challenged that notion a bit after kind of reading through the regulation and seeing what we could and couldn't do. And we actually figured out that we could do it completely virtually. Sadly, there's a lot about sign up that I can't talk about for regulatory reasons, unfortunately. But for us, it was all about getting deep into the rule books and figuring out what we could do, and trying to figure out the most obviously user-friendly way of doing this. I think for me, the key to this, personally speaking, is having multidisciplinary teams. So at Monzo, every team is fairly multidisciplinary, and that brings different perspectives. So what I mean is we have product teams that have, I guess, lots of different perspectives. So a designer, for example, will know how to make something beautiful and what kind of nudges to try. Where an engineer, a mobile engineer, will know what's technically possible. Someone like me will know kind of what language to use and how to kind of optimize a funnel, for example. A business analyst will know what kind of nudges and things to prioritize, and user researchers, for example, will know how customers will react to certain parts of things. And so to have people involved to have all of these disciplines involved from the very beginning meant that we could effectively turn around and say, hey, it is technically possible for us to do sign up in a mobile app, for example. So that was a real, I think, key thing for us. And I think that kind of shines through to the rest of the products today. As multidisciplinary teams, being involved in the very beginning means you have multiple perspectives on how to design something, and then that's how we do it. So yeah, I think that's probably a key part of it. But yeah, for us, sign up is it's one of the things that people first notice about Monzo. I think it sets the scene really nicely for Monzo as well. If sign up's going to be this easy, then surely the rest of my banking is going to be this easy too. And I hope that we do follow through with that experience afterwards.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I know that when I signed up, how I had to prove I was who I said I was, and obviously I needed an identity document. But at that time, I had to take a video of myself saying, I'm Jess Gamble and I'd like to create an account with Monzo, which was super easy and a completely different experience to the multiple banks that I'd gone into their branch to try and create an account with. But has your sign up process changed a lot since you've launched?
It has changed it's changed in some kind of small elements. There's been kind of some extra things that we needed to add from, I guess, a regulatory perspective. But more than that, I think there are kind of small nudges and things that we kind of added. But to be really honest, no, not in any major way. And that's obviously something that, and I think we're going to come onto this a little later on this theme, I imagine. But as we scale, we have to be constantly questioning what's appropriate for an audience of 50,000, 500,000, a million, and now we're almost at 5 million. And so those experiences change depending on the scale, I guess, that you're at. And so we're thinking quite meaningfully about our sign-up process and how it's going to change now. We have fundamentally a lot more products to introduce customers to now. So when we first designed sign-up, when we first designed sign-up, we had a prepaid card. We redesigned sign-up slightly for the current account. And now we have a current account, we have a joint account, we have business accounts, we have a premium Monzo Plus account. And so we need to bear in mind that those products exist, and actually our kind of current strategy to those products is you have to to the current account, and then we sell you through to the other products. But really, sign up should introduce people to all of these products, and they should come to use.
Okay.
It's a big technical feat and a big design challenge, and that's actually what we're thinking about quite meaningfully now.
Oh, great. Thanks, Jack. Moving on to Monzo Labs, that's something that you guys have created that's all about being transparent with your customers about what's coming up next. And why has that been so important for Monzo?
So transparency has been very important to us since the very beginning. We started as a very, very small community-led technology company based in various tiny offices around London. And really, the way we kind of got traction to start with was by sharing ideas early, thinking about kind of product principles, and having a discussion with a community of people that were kind of very bought in and interested in a new kind of bank. Traditionally, the banking industry has been very opaque. It's an industry that people have to have a bank account, but there's never really been much choice, right? Most current accounts are all the same. Most people inherit a bank account from, I guess, their childhood years when their parents have set a bank account up, right? And then they just keep that bank account for the rest of their life. And it's not been very, I guess, consumer centric. And so the way we started our business was effectively just saying to people, hey, we think banking should be better. What would you like to see in a bank account? And as we were having those conversations, we kind of gained more traction. At that point, we built a product roadmap, a transparent roadmap that was available online. It was actually just a Trello board. That's all it was. It wasn't anything fancy. And that's where we kind of showed our kind of working and in real time, the kinds of things that we wanted to build and the kinds of things that were in progress and all this kind of thing. So that's how we kind of started. And a key part of that was building something that was half finished, or kind of, I guess, an MVP, and then putting it out to the world and kind of gaining feedback really, really quickly. And that was really it was a free way of getting of user research. It was also great for engagement because people were really bought into what we were building. I think as that has developed over time, that became what's called Monzo Labs, which is where there's some kind of things in testing. But that approach doesn't scale when you're a big bank that serves almost 5 million customers. And it's even weird now to say that Monzo is a big bank, but in terms of customer numbers, we are bigger than quite a few banks in the UK. I think our next biggest is actually the next biggest current account milestone to cross would be NatWest. I think NatWest has something like 8 million current account customers. So there is a bit of a gap, but we're on our way there. And so, as a big bank, we have a responsibility to ship polished features now. And that kind of gets in the way of our transparent approach in some ways, right? Because we want to share what we're working on, but we don't want to share too early for fear of meeting some roadblocks or making a mistake with a customer's money, right? Like, if ultimately we have to release features that are polished, are protected, and so that's been a real challenge for us. So what we've kind of learned is that it's important for us to be transparent, but perhaps after the fact. So just to kind of give you a very brief example on this, around 2 or 3 years ago, we realised that people withdrawing cash abroad was costing us a lot of money. It was burning a big hole in our pockets, way more than it kind of made us money. And so we basically took this decision to our community, and we said, what is the fairest way for us to charge fees for ATM usage when abroad? And the community decided. They made a bunch of suggestions, and we ultimately whittled it down to 3. And then we kind of made a decision from those 3. That was when we had under 500,000 customers. And so it was easy at that point for us to kind of engage with the community and kind of make decisions that way. Fast forward to 2020, we have a similar situation with domestic ATM cash withdrawals and replacement cards, in that again, small minority of customers have been kind of spending lots of money replacing cards when they didn't necessarily need to, and withdrawing lots of cash when they don't use Monzo for anything else. We couldn't go to the community this time because the scale is so much bigger. And so what we decided to do instead was spend a lot more time thinking about it, do lots of user research, do lots of market research, and be really confident ourselves that we have come up with a good solution, launch that solution, announce the solution, and then really put the legwork in to be transparent after the fact. So talk about the kinds of considerations we made, the decisions we made about it, about certain things, our rationale for doing stuff. And that kind of came in kind of three facets. We emailed everyone, and we were using our kind of classic tone of voice to explain our kind of rationale. We put out a blog post, and we were really clear there on our rationale. And we engaged with our community over Twitter and in our community forum as well. And what we found is that we still have, customers still feel that level of trust and transparency, but we just kind of explained it after the fact, which is appropriate to our level of customer numbers. And I think it depends on the I guess scale of the product as well. So for our business banking product, for example, we have I think we have around 40,000 customers in our business banking product currently. That's more appropriate for a transparent product roadmap, because we're in that kind of early stages like we were for our current account a few years ago. And so, yeah, I guess the scale completely depends. Yeah.
Oh, thanks, Jack. Yeah, I got the email about you changing your process for replacement cards, and it did. It really followed your normal tone of everything was clear. I could see everything in the email. I could read the blog post. I could ask questions. So as a customer, I can see how it's changed, but the customer service is still amazing. Talking more about customer service, as a company, you've really tried to focus on like the self-service element of things. So customers can find really helpful information or even speak to people via the app. I remember losing my Monzo card once actually, and all I had to do was log into my app. I could freeze my card myself. And then I think I chatted to someone through the app to organize a replacement card, and it was just super easy, self-service. How has that changed since Monzo has launched?
But that's a great question. I think it's changed quite a lot. When we first launched, again, it was this case of launching early and kind of shipping quickly. And what that meant is that there were lots of kind of bits of the app and things that people had feedback on and all this kind of thing. And so at that stage, it was very important for us to have customers kind of talking directly to us. And so we used our kind of, at the time we used a service called Intercom, it was integrated directly with Monzo, and now we use our own in-house solution called Monzo Chat. Broadly, even a year ago, most things that you needed help with would be serviced via a human directly in Monzo Chat, which we really love actually. We really love having human interactions with people, and we think it's really important for a bank to have those human interactions. But we also realise and understand that in 2020, customers expect to be able to self-serve as much as humanly possible, and also expect kind of the backup of having a human help you if you can't self-serve yourself. So one of our earliest kind of self-serve functions, as you mentioned, is the Freeze Your Card feature, which was a first for the industry and something we were really proud of. And that was effectively, if you lose your card, just freeze it for a little bit, and you might find it again.
Yeah.
This kind of thing. I remember I lost my NatWest debit card in 2016 when I was in Germany, and I got really worried. I cancelled all my cards, and then I found it again a few hours later in the hotel, and I couldn't use my cards because they'd been cancelled. And this is just like speaks to like this thing where people lose their cards, like having peace of mind to freeze it, and so that was like really starting from a core user need, right? Like that everyone has had that experience. And then there's also the case where you've actually lost it, and we kind of contextually help you through that too. We've built a couple more things now that help you self-serve. Something in particular is disputing transactions. So if you are worried about a particular transaction, if it was, for example, you see a transaction in your feed and that code wasn't me, this is fraudulent, you can report that straight away. And in certain circumstances, if it is fraudulent, we can help you get that money back without even having to talk to a human, which is really, really cool. And there's a bunch of other things as well that we're working on that really just let you kind of self-service your money in lots of contextual ways, which should reduce your needs to talk to humans. Having said that, it's always really important in an emergency that you're able to talk to someone at your bank. And so we will always have humans in the background ready to talk to people if there's an emergency. It's also really important for vulnerable customers, for example. People who are in vulnerable situations need to have kind of human empathy and have human touch. And so we're there for our kind of people who are worried about their money, or I guess in the situation where they are in a vulnerable place. So yeah, self-serve to by default, but obviously a human touch is always there as well.
Yeah, it always is useful to have the option to talk to a human. Okay, well, a nice easy question to finish off with. What do you think your biggest learnings have been while at Monzo? And are there any key things that SaaS companies should be focusing on over the next year?
That is a great question as well. I think really the biggest, I've learned so much being here over the last 3 years. It's been an absolute rocket ship. The growth has been enormous and it's been really fast paced and I've loved it. I think knowing that we have a real clear sense of what we want to do. We make money work for everyone, and that kind of extends beyond banking, right? And we will always have that kind of sense, but the way you apply that mission is different depending on scale. So as I've kind of talked about, in the very, very early days, we could build something rough and share it with people and they could use it. And we can't do that at the scale we're at now because people trust us with their money, a lot of it as well. But we need so at scale we need to find different ways of still applying that value of transparency and customer centricity. And we'll be in the same position next year and the year after, where the ways that we achieve that has broken again. And so just being mindful that scale means things are always breaking. And as a result, you always need to be thinking about your how you apply your mission, your values, as that scale grows. And I guess that's been probably the biggest learn.
Great. Thanks, Jack. Well, it was really great to chat to you. Before we close off, do we have any questions from the audience? I haven't seen any come through. But yeah, if anyone does have any questions, you can pop them in the chat pane. But yeah, I guess just again, thanks, Jack. It was a really great session. And thanks to so many of you who've stayed with us right to the end. Yeah, I think the only other thing is to say, don't forget about our competition that we're running today. It's really, really easy to enter. Just make sure that you share your key takeaway from the last session and post it with a picture if you'd like on LinkedIn, and of course our hashtag, which is the most important part. We'll choose a picture at random and you could be the new owner of a pair of Apple AirPods. We do really send them out. You can see 2 people here who've received them in the past, just as proof. But yeah, next up, we have a session from 3 members of our team on how to win with topic clusters. So please join that if you can. The link will go into the chat. But you've all been a wonderful audience, and I hope that you have a lovely rest of day and enjoy the sessions. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Jack.